Welcome to the Parkland Report. My name is Seamus Reilly. Joining me for today's program, Dr. Christine Young, Vice President for Academic Services at Parkland College. Welcome to the Parkland Report.
Thank you, Seamus.
How long have you been at Parkland College?
It's coming up on 15 years, Seamus.
Okay, and you started as a faculty member
I
here.
did. I taught chemistry for a number of years and then was chair of natural sciences and now Vice President for Academic Services.
So tell me a little bit about the structure of academic services. I mean, it mostly relates to the academic department. So how many academic departments do we have at Parkland?
Sure, you got it. We've got 9 academic departments at Parkland College. Each comprises, most of them are a blend of what we might call career education as well as transfer education. They are headed by department chairs, and a special aspect of Parkland College is that the chairs are elected from the faculty. So they themselves are faculty members who've been selected by their peers to lead their department. We also have 2 deans that help assist my office in some more of the central administrative pieces of academic services. Academic services also oversees the library, our Center for Academic Success, and the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning.
You mentioned the career part and technical part of some of the academic departments. Talk a little bit about some of the new additions to campus in terms of the physical space, and that's the Park Hill Applied Technology Center on the west side of campus.
We have, oh my gosh, we've got over about 80,000 square feet that has appeared on campus in the past 2 years. The first we had about 17,000 square feet appear in addition onto the Tony Knoll Agriculture Center, which has been offering education on the ag side, but also in diesel power equipment technology. So popular that we needed to double our space for that program, and now we've doubled the number of students and graduates that we have in diesel power. The bigger building, if you've been on the west side of our campus, you've probably noticed 67,000 square feet appeared. It's our Park Hill Applied Technology Center. It is now home to all of our automotive programs, our welding program, our industrial technology, as well as collision repair. And it's also become the home of our engineering science and technology department. The facilities are phenomenal. I would say the building's open just like anything else at Parkland College. Come on out and take a look. The architecture is lots of windows in the building. I think we're recovering from 40 years of not having so many windows on our campus. So there's lots of light in the building, and you can see through the classrooms and the labs and see what the students are up to and what our talented faculty are doing with the students. And
a specifically designed facility. I mean, I'm thinking both in terms of innovative technology as far as sort of cost savings with, I know, a geothermal system, and then also interesting design in classroom space, which allows a combination for a laboratory space and sort of what we would call a traditional sort of teaching space.
Absolutely. The automotive space is simply outstanding. So first of all, we have just a giant bay. It was modeled after what a student might see if they started working at a dealership, a modern dealership right upon graduation. So it's outfitted with not only the equipment but the layout so that when students enter the workforce, they'll understand how work and cars flow through that space. But if you back up into what you would call the classroom space also has the ability to bring a car in, to lift it up, to have a workbench right there. So students can sit at their traditional desks, walk several feet over, and be looking right at a car. So there's very little separation now of what you might call traditional lecture and laboratory time, and that goes for most of the programs that are in that building.
And also in particular the automotive, I know we have established some partnerships with major sort of organizations in the country that would be where we would expect some of our students to get employment. And also in the automotive, not just employed as mechanics or people working on the mechanics of cars, but also in other aspects of the industry.
You got it. So a lot of our students come in wanting to be technicians, so they would be working on the cars. And it's important to note that our graduates today, yes, you can call them mechanics, but you might as well call them computer experts as well, because our vehicles today are have more computer chips in them than nuts and bolts, it seems at times. So those students are trained in that fashion. But students in that program, there's also a track if they'd like to be on the service manager part of the program, so those that might interface with customers when they bring their cars in. There's also a small but enthusiastically embraced aspect of the program in motorsports, which is actually a surprisingly large industry in the United States. So we have some special connections in that program, and students are very enthusiastic about the curriculum for that specialty.
And the partnerships then we have, I know we have a Ford Asset program.
Yep.
You talk a little bit about some of those partnerships in terms of support that we get from external sort of companies.
Our relationship with Ford goes back some ways, and we're using it as a model in other places in the college, and I can talk about that. So the Ford Motor Company, we partner with them, and so one piece of our automotive program is dedicated, it's called the Ford Asset Program. So students go through a comprehensive program to become technicians, but their curriculum is designed with the Ford Motor Company in mind. So these students not only are prepared to work in Ford dealerships, but they're paired with a Ford dealership right from the beginning. So the student has a relationship. Their internships during the program are at that particular dealership. The dealer most often assists the student in some way with tuition, purchasing tools, and then at the completion of the program, if it's all worked out, the student has done what we've asked of them and what the dealer has asked of them, they have a job waiting for them. So after 2 years, they're immediately into the workforce. We've used that as a model more recently for our Case New Holland program. That's earlier I mentioned the diesel power equipment program that was doubled. It's a Case New Holland program. So like our existing program, but those students also are sponsored by a dealership and have a job waiting for them. And we're using that as a model with a lot of our career programs to see if you can have that tight an alignment with community college and an industry, so everything the student is doing is directed toward getting a job after 2 years of full-time study at Parkland College.
And so particularly, I suppose, in the career programs in nursing and allied health programs, for example, that would be another good example of where we have great established partnerships.
Yeah, in this town, we have excellent relationships with so many of our healthcare providers. Of special note might be our relationship with Carle Foundation Hospital, Carle Clinic. They scholarship a great number of our students. Of course, we have clinical sites with them. Provena has been generous with equipment and other relationships. So, increasingly, I don't want to say the line is blurring between community colleges and industry, but it is, and in the place it should, which is talking about getting a student prepared to enter the workforce and be able to make a decent wage and contribute to the community right upon graduation.
One of the early sort of aspects of the community college, and as a comprehensive community college, Parkland sort of espouses this too, has been the opportunity for students to transfer into a four-year school. I mean, transfer is a major part of what we do here. Can you talk a little bit about some of our partners in four-year schools and some of the success we've had academically in
Absolutely.
developing those programs?
With sharing a town with the University of Illinois, you can imagine that we consider them one of our largest partners as well. And in fact, we send more students to the University of Illinois than any other community college or any other university in the state, or I suppose in the world for that matter. Our students transfer successfully. We receive reports from the University of Illinois on a semesterly basis talking about what do those students do after they transfer in terms of GPA. Semester after semester, our students are doing as well or better than students who started at the university. And that gives us great confidence in the preparation we give a student that our first 2 years are similar, identical to what they might have done at university. We also have an excellent relationship with Eastern Illinois University. Eastern Illinois has a presence on our campus. It is possible for a student to never leave our address at 2400 West Bradley Avenue and get a bachelor's degree. They offer junior, senior level classes on our campus, and so students can stay here, or they can transfer down to Charleston and complete more programs there, and we also have many students going to Eastern as well.
I know there's a lot of work going on in terms of construction on campus, and I know there are two pieces in particular that apply directly to you, and one is in the area of natural sciences, which is where you began your career here at Parkland College, and the other is fine and applied arts. I wonder if you would talk a little bit particularly about the natural sciences improvements in terms of the biology labs, for example.
You bet. In natural sciences, has lived in the L Wing for our nearly 40 years on this physical plant, and the biology labs are about that old, so they may be even a little bit overdue for remodel. So we have about 6 biology labs at this time that are slated to be completely renovated. So this is more of a renovation project than adding square footage, and we are looking forward to meeting with architects for the first time in the spring semester, talking with the faculty about what they would like to see students be able to do in these laboratories. There'll be a mix of traditional laboratories, what we're calling flex laboratories, that are both appropriate for lecture and lab. And we believe we will be able to start that renovation in the summer of 2014. For Fine and Applied Arts is actually addition to our main campus. Fine and Applied Arts is scattered about our campus. As you know, we have what we call the 3D arts, so sculpture, ceramics are in a building that's on the outside perimeter of campus. It was built as a temporary building in the early 80s, and it is reaching the end of its useful life, and it wasn't designed, I believe, for art in the first place. Another group of the 2D arts, drawing, painting, and related, are in another place on campus. Again, wasn't designed for the arts. So in that project, we're going to bring them all together, and for the first time in a facility that's designed for the arts and on main campus, so our students, staff, visitors can enjoy the art that our students produce. And if there's time also to mention the Black Box Theater project, affiliated with that Fine and Applied Arts project. Our theater, as visitors know, it's a tremendous resource to us and to the community. But when you're talking about smaller productions, experimental productions, student-directed productions, and even just acting practice for our classes, we don't have that space on this campus. Our students are taking acting classes in the lobby. So we endeavor to build a black box theater, a very flexible space for smaller performances, for practice, for student productions, and it will appear next to our theater, and all of that construction should start in late spring 2013.
Well, academic services is busy enough without construction, but I know it's been a tremendously busy couple of years here, and looking into the future, I know it's even going to be more exciting as we add more space and improve existing academic space. Thanks so much for being here with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hey, Allison and Dylan, what if I told you you could get a head start on college before you graduated high school and for little to no cost?
Well, I'd ask you what the catch is.
Yeah, how can I take college courses if I haven't even finished high school yet?
That's easy. You simply enroll in dual credit courses at Parkland College.
But won't that be expensive?
Yeah, will all the credits transfer?
Well, most four-year universities accept these credits, and you're actually saving money. Many times the high school will even cover the cost of the course.
I'm sorry, did I overhear you guys correctly? Did you just say that you could take college courses without paying college tuition?
Yeah, all we pay for is the course and the textbook, and we can earn college credit towards getting our degree.
You guys are catching on. The credit works toward a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, and even toward career certificate programs.
I like the sound of this.
I don't know, this all sounds great, but I already have a busy schedule and I won't have time to drive to classes.
You won't have to. Parkland offers a number of dual credit courses online, in addition to the on-campus courses. Some of the courses are even taught in your high school.
You mean to say that one of the high school classes I'm taking right now could work as a dual credit course as well?
Yes, you should talk to the school counselor to see which classes are offered as dual credit in our school. Then all you need to do is apply to Parkland, and once you're accepted, fill out the application to the dual credit program. You'll need the signature of your parents and advisor for this.
That sounds easy enough, but are there any requirements to being eligible for dual credit?
Yes, you must be a junior or senior in high school, age 16 or above, in order to be eligible for dual credit courses. You can print an application online or visit Parkland's admissions office to pick one up.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to see the counselor right now.
Yeah, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity.
Me neither.
Catch live, play-by-play coverage of Parkland sports. Live the action live. octobersports.net.
Welcome back. Joining me now, Dr. Linda Moore, Vice President for Student Services at Parkland College. Welcome to the Parkland Report.
Thank you.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about what areas are covered by you in Student Services.
Well, there are 12 different departments and the Dean of Students' office. The departments I think most people think about traditionally with Student Services are offices like admissions and records and financial aid, counseling and advising. Our Career Center is part of Student Services, as well as the Office of Student Life that has student clubs and organizations. So a number of different departments like that. I think some that people don't normally think of are the athletics department, the public safety department, so the police officers, and community education, which is our non-credit programming, also comes under Student Services at Parkland.
So it covers a pretty wide and very, very diverse sort of a number of student services. Can you talk a little bit about sort of like the typical sort of like pressures on those departments around sort of enrollment of students for the beginnings of new semesters, and as they go through, they have some pretty busy times in the year.
Yeah, interesting you ask that the second day of a new semester here. But of course, there's a lot of processing of paperwork early on when you're recruiting students and bringing them in and helping them get their applications in order, get their financial aid paperwork in order, choose a path toward a career or degree or a certificate, help them get registered for those classes, and just sort of getting them oriented to the world of higher education. So it is a very busy time for those offices.
And it all seems to happen in a very sort of short period of time as well, even though it seems we talk to students way in advance about what plans they should make for coming to college.
Well, depending on the semester. I mean, it's true that we are, our admissions advisors are out talking to students in the high schools, our Adult Reentry Center and other recruiters are out talking to the adult populations who are considering coming back to school. So that's going on year-round. The actual registration period for a fall semester begins, in the spring and goes all summer long until school starts. And then for a semester like we're in now, the spring semester, that's happened mostly between November and January that we're doing that. So it is spread out a bit, but I suppose the big crunches are pretty condensed, as you described. Yeah.
So you talked about our recruiting and going out into the community, high schools and so on, recruiting people. But we also make good use of our students here on campus in terms of involving them in the process of greeting and working with new students when they come on campus and doing tours.
Well, we actually have some student ambassadors who work sort of connected with our admissions and admissions recruiters. And I think we're finding more and more of our students who might not have an official role, but participate in an unofficial role, either with students back at the high schools that they came from, or, our students, our Latino students have worked very diligently to do better outreach to Latino students in the high schools. So our students are a very important part of the recruiting effort.
So I know some of the marketing sort of materials, for example, highlighted sort of our athletes who had come here, for example, and then participate here on our college teams and are using them to sort of showcase their high schools where they came from. And obviously Club Latino then has done a great job in sort of providing, but not just outreach, but also sort of events on campus for Latino population to come and visit with their families.
That's right. That's right.
So it's been a nice blend and a nice mixture. One of the things with student life in particular is that the student government, and then also our student involvement as part of our board of trustees. Can you talk a little bit about how that operates here at Parkland College?
Well, the student government members are elected by the student body, so there are officers and senators, and they keep office hours, and so they're available to meet with their constituents and bring issues forward. We have an elected member a student member of the Board of Trustees who has an advisory vote on that board, and that person also is elected by the student body. She attends every monthly board meeting and lots of other activities that the Board of Trustees acts and represents the student interest of the board.
I would say that one of the most interesting things in the last couple of years has been how much external issues have come to bear on colleges, both in terms at the federal level as well as the state level. And certainly it seems like many of the areas that you're responsible for are particularly sensitive to changes that happen at the federal and state level, both in terms of legislation as well as development of new sort of policy and approaches to things.
That's a responsibility that has just really, really grown, as you've noted, in the student services area in coming years, the whole issue of compliance, federal compliance, state compliance, local compliance, different regulations and legislation that gets enacted, and then we have to figure out a way to get our processes and our people all lined up with those.
One of the most exciting things that is going on campus right now is preparation for the newest and largest addition to our campus, and that is a Student Services Center. I know this is something that you have been very busy working on for the last couple of years, it seems. Can you talk a little bit about the need for that space and what we hope that space will mean for future generations of Parkland staff and students?
You know, I'm glad you asked about that, right? This is space that we have long needed, and that's not just coming from me. This is coming from external consultants who've been on campus even back in the mid-90s, who said at that time, with the student population we had at that time, we had a 110% deficit in space for the administration of the student services processes and lounge space and study space for students. So we have been working toward this a long time. My predecessors worked long and hard on this, but the funding just was not to be had during those times. So we're fortunate that finally has come to bear. I'm sure you'll remember a few years back when we visited towns throughout our district. We had a series of more than 20 town hall meetings, and even though different towns have different needs that they express to us, one thing we heard everywhere we went is, I find it really hard to navigate that campus. I don't know where to park. I can't find my car again. I don't know where to begin. So one thing that we've long wanted is something that's an identifiable kind of front door to our campus, so that people who are unfamiliar with our campus would see a welcoming place to begin. So we have designed a building that looks very similar in architectural style to the building, but enough different that it looks like a front door. We will be moving the services that a student needs to, from the time they meet with an admissions advisor, they complete their application, they do their financial aid paperwork, they get advised, they register, they buy a sweatshirt, they buy their textbooks or whatever in this one building.
But designed with the sort of a more contemporary understanding of how a student operates and what services need to be offered at what time, so that students can make a natural, for them, for not right now, what is a natural progression through a system. Yeah.
We hope we have laid out a building that will be very logical to students and encourage students to stay on campus to study, whether they need quiet individual study or group study, where they can participate with their student clubs and organizations and have meetings and guest speakers and have those sorts of extracurricular activities that really enhance their post-secondary education.
Well, as well as being a sort of a natural sort of lodestone for the community of students who we have here at Parkland, it is also going to be a natural sort of magnet for the greater community who maybe want to sort of interact with Parkland and want some place to come and sort of observe what's going on. So there's an opportunity for us to provide sort of external functions and ability for people to interact with their students on campus in a space that will be extremely inviting.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be very beautiful, and if people are around campus now, they can see the frame of it, and I think can already see that. But you're right. We knew that we would only be able to do this once, and we've waited a long time for it, and really worked with our architects to design space that was as flexible as it could be to meet as many of those purposes as we could.
And at the same time has remained extremely faithful to the original design of the campus in terms of its very unique roof lines, while still managing to really include a lot of usable space in there.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very beautiful looking building, and it's going to be a very exciting time. It will also connect to the main building in a number of different ways, which means we will not really be losing that connectivity that we so much cherish at Parkland, especially in the winter.
It's another exciting thing about the design. There are 3 instructional and administrative wings that all kind of ended on the east end of campus, and this building will connect to all 3 of those. So I think really help the circulation and the traffic flow there.
Well, I know that everybody on campus, but especially you, is really looking forward to it, and we are sort of looking at a sort of deadline that's within this calendar year, perhaps.
Well, we are hoping, if the progress continues to be made as it has been, that the building will be substantially complete by the end of 2013. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll be ready to move in at that point. There will still be more to do, and we hope to begin moving the first areas in perhaps over spring break of 2014 and then throughout that summer.
And again, just to one other aspect that we haven't mentioned is that it's also going to be a place where our very comprehensive food service is going to be located.
We have long been very tight on dining space, and I know that it's been difficult for our food service providers to feed this many students and employees in the space that they had. So it really will be a beautiful new kitchen and a large, bright, airy dining area, and I think it'll really draw a lot of people to the food service and again, to spend more time engaging with each other on campus.
Well, as I said, I'm looking forward to it being a center for complete student engagement, but also community engagement here on campus. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
You're welcome. I appreciate your time.
That's it for this edition of Parkland Report. We'll see you back here next time.